And text number 5. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me Vadidani Janmani Davacharjuna Tanyaham Ved Sarvani Natvam Ved Parantapa. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Hare Krishna. So this chapter, the Transcendental Knowledge, Hare Krishna explains that how this knowledge is being spoken by Krishna to Sun God Vivaswan, and it is coming down in the chain of disciplic succession, Evam Parampara Praptam. And then because Arjuna, he is a great devotee and very intimate associate, Bhakto si mein sakha cheti rasham hi etatuttamam. So the same knowledge which was spoken to the Sun God Vivaswan, Krishna is repeating, and Arjuna became the recipient because he is qualified to receive this knowledge, being an intimate devotee and the friend of the Lord. So Arjuna had the doubt. So we already read and discussed those verses. I'm just giving you the quick recap to come to this today's verse. So then Arjuna was a little doubtful, confused, had the question, how to understand that you spoke this knowledge to Sun God. Because Krishna and Arjuna, by their age, they're contemporaries. So his question was very valid and very natural, that how you spoke this knowledge to Sun God, who is much senior. So how do you explain that? So in response to that question, Krishna is explaining this, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Krishna is addressed as Bhagavan here. And he's saying, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna. So Bahuni janmani, saying that me and you, Bahuni me and janmani tavacharjuna. Arjuna, me and you, we both have taken many, many birds. Now the difference is, Tani ham ved sarvani. Aham ved, I know, Tani, all of sarvani, all of those birds I remember. This is Krishna's position, that he remembers all past, present, and future. But Arjuna's position is Natvam Ved Parantapa. O Parantapa, Natvam Vedha, that you do not remember. So we have taken the births, you and me and everyone, many, many times. Of course, Krishna never takes birth, but Krishna has come many, many times. And Arjuna, the soul also, has come many, many times. Soul is also never takes birth. Soul just transmigrate. So the point here is that Krishna is saying that I remember, but you don't remember. And this is the difference between the Supreme Lord, Krishna, and the living entity. We all are conditioned souls. So conditioned souls, we all forget everything. But Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he remembers everything. That is the difference. Krishna is Aja. And Aja means who never takes birth. But Krishna comes many, many times. So externally speaking, looks like Krishna also takes birth. But his birth is not like us. His birth is Janma Karma Chamhe Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvadaha. Krishna will explain in few verses later now that his Janma, his appearance is Divyam. It is transcendental. So Krishna does not take birth under certain conditions, under the jurisdiction of the material nature. He comes by his own sweet will. He is the Supreme Lord. He is the Swarat. He is independent. But when we take birth in this material world, we comes under the subjugation of the material nature. So we are all conditioned souls. The nature of the conditioned soul is we are forgetful. We forgets. forget about our past life. We forget what happened yesterday. If we had to sometime, recall and remember a few things like what did I eat yesterday? We had to scratch, we had to dig our memory, right? How we can remember our past life and many lives. So that is basically the difference here, and that is the answer to Arjuna's question. And how do I understand that you spoke this knowledge to Sun God? So Krishna is saying, you, me, all we come again and again, but you just forgot everything, and I remember everything. There is a possibility that when I spoke this knowledge to Sun God, even Arjuna also might be present there. And because Arjuna is the intimate associate of the Lord, and whenever Lord comes, Lord always comes along with his devotees. So Arjuna also might have been there and he might have heard, but he has forgotten everything. So that's the point coming out here, that conditioned souls, we forget everything. Krishna remembers everything. Krishna's birth is like sun rises. Prabhupada gives this analogy. Sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But we never say that sun died. Sun never dies and it never takes birth. Sun just appears. It becomes manifest to our eyes. So in the morning, in the east, we see the sun. In the evening, sun sets. So similarly, Krishna comes and Krishna sets. So sometime he becomes manifest. He becomes visible to our conditioned eyes. Right. But the living entity is not like that. We forget and we keep changing the bodies. And that is the reason that why we forget everything. Because the conditioned souls, they transmigrate from one body to another body to another body. And as soon as we change the body, by the nature's arrangement, we forget our life in the previous body. But Krishna never changed the body. Krishna is the absolute truth. His body and his soul, there's no difference. That is what is the meaning of absolute truth. There's no difference. So just because Krishna does not change his body, so he remembers what happened. So he remembers everything. So Prabhupada quoted the verses here that Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Puranam Purusham Navayavanam Ja Vedeshu Durlavam Adurlavam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Ham Bhajami. So Krishna is Advaitam. Advaita means he is non-different. His body and his soul, they are absolute. They are non-different. Advaitam. Achyutam is infallible. Infallible, that word has been used earlier also in the chapter 1, that uh, Arjuna addresses Senyor Madhya Ratham Sthape Me Achyuta. So there also this word has been used, Achyuta. So Krishna is infallible, means he never forgets. He never misses to perform his duties. So he is never forgetful. So this is Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim. He is Anadi. There's no beginning to him. Now, we can say that soul is also Anadi. We are also Anadi. Soul has no beginning. Since Krishna is there, we are also there. But we are not the source of everything. Though we are Anadi, but Krishna is the source of everything. He is Ananta Rupam. He has many, different incarnation. Ramadi, Murti Sukala Niyamene Atishthan. So Krishna sometimes comes in the form of Rama, Narasimha, Varaha. But it is like a different get up, different appearance. Person is same. Wherein the living entity, when we come, we take the different bodies. But Krishna does not change the body. Body changes his appearance. Appearance means today, you look different. Tomorrow you make a say different hairstyle, different clothing, or something like that. And you might look a little different, but you are the same person. So Krishna is like that. So that's the point here, that Krishna is transcendental. His janma, his karma, his appearance, his body, his everything is transcendental, wherein the living entities, we are all conditioned souls. And conditioned souls, the nature of conditioned soul is that we forget. As soon as we change the body, we forget. And that is the problem. That is the root cause of our suffering in this material world, that we forget. You know. And who forgets? Anyone. Somebody is as great as uh, Arjuna, who's a great devotee, is a liberated soul. He also forgets. So it is only Krishna who never forgets. Otherwise, everybody else, including Brahmaji, Brahmaji got bewildered when he forgot Krishna's position. Brahmaji is not some ordinary personality. He is the first created being. He is the creator, secondary creator, of course. But he also forgot. Arjuna forgets. So living entity's nature is this forgetfulness, and that is the root cause of suffering in this material world. Now Krishna, bhuliya jeev bhog vancha kare, nikatastha maya thare, japati adhare. A living entity when Krishna bhuliya jeev, the jiva, the living entity when he forgets Krishna, and then nikatastha maya thare, japati adhare, then Maya captures and Maya engages us in different, services. We get engaged in Maya service. Bhog vancha kare. When we desire to enjoy independent from Krishna, that is when our suffering begins. So the root cause of all suffering in this material world is people can say so many things. Oh, suffering is because of unemployment, because of inflation, or so many things we can say. But the scriptures guides us. The root cause of all suffering is that we forget Krishna. This is the conditioned nature. Forgetfulness is the nature of the living entity. We forget, right? So Krishna has come again and again. In fact, Krishna confirmed that in the second chapter also. Na tu eva ham jatu nasham, na tvam neme janadipa, na chevana bhavishyama. You, me, and all these kings, we have been there in the past, in the present, and will continue to exist in the future. The difference is Krishna remembers everything, we forget everything. So this forgetfulness, we had to come out from this forgetfulness. How to come out from this? Now we are in this forgetfulness, in the conditioned state, forgotten our relationship with Krishna, our position as being part and parcel of Krishna, right? So what is the way out? How do we come out from this forgetfulness? And because of this forgetfulness, we are suffering here, right? We are originally, constitutionally, we are designed to enjoy Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavidabhis. We are designed to constantly experience unlimited bliss in the association of the Lord, in the service of the Lord. But we have forgotten our relationship with the Lord. We have forgotten our duties towards the Lord. Our duty as being a part and parcel of Krishna. Our duty is to constantly be subservient, servant, serving, loving devotional service to Krishna, rendering that. But we have forgotten our duty, and then we have taken up all artificial duties. Oh, my duty is to, enjoy my senses. My duty is to take care of my family and my society, my nation. Of course, we cannot neglect all that. It is important, but not independent from Krishna. So our real duty is, or the so-called duty of this material world has to be in connection with Krishna. But we have forgotten that. We have forgotten that we are entitled for the real spiritual bliss. And just because we have forgotten, we are just somehow managing here, taking the illusory pleasure. Like the person who is hungry and he's entitled for, eating nice food stuff, varieties of food stuff, very healthy, tasty, nutritious food. But just because you've forgotten and he somehow managed to eat with some junk. He eats some junk and manage with that. So now in this conditioned state, in that forgetfulness state, we are actually, our pleasure is like a junk pleasure. The sense gratification is like a junk food. We are not entitled for that. It might be very titillating to our senses, the junk food, but it will spoil our health in the due course. So it's all because of the forgetfulness. And that is what Krishna is saying. That Bahuni me Veditani Janmani Tavarjuna. Tani ham Veda Sarvani Natam Ved Parandaba. That we all forget. So we have to very carefully study the scriptures and understand that we are currently in the forgetfulness state and the different layers of this forgetfulness. First of all, we forget that we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we forget that we are entitled for the spiritual bliss, the true pleasure, which is in association with Krishna. We have forgotten that, and we try to enjoy the material senses. That is one layer of forgetfulness. But by some good senses, good fortune, we come to our senses, and then gradually we start to realize, oh no, this sense gratification doesn't really satisfy me. I have to do something about it. And then there is next layer of forgetfulness, to some living entities like the Mayavadis. They think this sense gratification doesn't satisfy me. The only way is that if I can merge into Brahman, I become one with the Supreme Lord, and then I'll be happy. That is the Brahman stage. Aham Brahmasmi. I'll become Brahman. This is also another ignorance, another layer of forgetfulness. Still, we are not realizing that what is my true constitutional position. Our position is not to merge into Brahman, to become one with the Lord. So this is also another layer of ignorance in the forgetfulness. And these Mayavadis, they start equating with the Supreme Lord. They think the soul has to become one with the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada gives one example. It is not possible. This is not our constitutional position. It is also a forgetful state. And Prabhupada gives the example: a king is sitting on a throne, and a bug, small mosquito or any bug, also comes and sit on the same throne or maybe in the king's lap. Does it mean that they become equal? They never become equal. King is king, the small bug is the small bug only. So similarly, no matter that Krishna says that Hirdesha Arjuna Tishtati, that I am the Supreme Lord who is sitting in the heart of all the living entities. So somebody might conclude, and this Mayavadi sometimes they conclude like this, that in this body the soul is also sitting and the super soul is also sitting, Paramatma is also sitting. We are all on the equal footing. That is also another ignorance, right? So that is the problem. That is the misunderstanding of the living entity, and because of that we have to suffer. The sense gratification is also suffering, and merging into Brahman is also another type of suffering. Unless living entity realize that my constitutional position is to render loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, I cannot be happy. Right. So this is the root cause of all suffering, that we forget our position, we forget everything. We have forgotten our past birth, we have forgotten our constitutional position, and then we are just assuming ourselves something as the enjoyer, as becoming one with the Lord. These are different, means of creating more and more suffering for ourselves. Bhagavatam also explains, this verse explains, Janasya Krishna Dvimukasya Devat Adharmasilashya Sudukhitasya Anugrahaya Charanti Nunam Bhutani Babhyani Janardhanasya Janasya Krishna Dvimukasya Devat. When the living entity becomes Vimukhat, Krishna Vimukasya, when we turn away from Krishna, and then we engaged in Adharmasilasya, and we engaged in Adharma, the activities which are not constitution to us, when we engaged out of forgetfulness of Krishna, then Sudukkidasya, then we start suffering in this material world. What is the way out? The way out is Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam. This great souls, the great devotees of the Lord, Anugrahaya, out of their compassion, they Charanti Nunam, they just wanders in this world, and with the intention of delivering all these forgetful conditioned souls. So, how to come out from this forgetfulness? It is only possible by the mercy of a pure devotee. When we come by some good fortune, when we come in touch with the, the pure devotee of the Lord, then gradually you start coming out from this forgetful state, start to realize, and what is my real constitutional position, what is my real joy. So we start realizing that, right? We have forgotten that, you know, in this human form of life, this human bud can blossom into the flower. But to turn into the flower, we need a gardener, a pure devotee, a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master. He is the gardener who can gradually, by his mercy, by pouring the water of his mercy, he can turn this human bud into a blossoming flower. So, in this human form of life, which is a great boon, great blessing, we are like, we have forgotten our real position, like, our abilities as being the soul. It's like an airplane which can fly in the sky. But if we forget or we are ignorant, that this airplane can fly in the sky, and we start to drive the airplane on the road, that is not the best use of the airplane. It has the potential to fly high in the sky. And then somebody comes and somebody says, hey, why you are driving it in the road? You don't you know that how to fly that? I can teach you. So the spiritual master does that. He comes and he says, you've forgotten that what you are entitled for. You can be with Krishna. You can enjoy Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Unlimited pleasure is there for you. You are entitled for that. Why you are settling down with some illusory, temporary, sensual pleasure? It's bogus. And then he reminds us, the spiritual master, and then he gives us the tool. So that is the way that when we come onto the right runway and start driving on the runway instead of some ordinary road, so living the life of sense gratification, instead of that, we start living the life of Krishna consciousness. It is like a runway. So runway also you have to drive. And but in the runway, when you start driving, then it's gather the momentum and the speed. And also then it gets the direction from the air traffic control. So this runway, the Krishna conscious life is the runway, wherein we start driving, we start living our life, and then we take the direction from the air traffic control, which is the scriptures from the spiritual master. And the spiritual master give us the guidance, the instructions from the scriptures. And then gradually when we start living that life, and in no time, you will see that we'll be flying high in the sky. Right? That is the human potential which we have forgotten. And that is why we are suffering in this material world. So that is one point that coming out here. And also, Prabhupada is saying that Krishna, he's comparing Krishna with a Vadura stone. Vadura stone, the characteristic of this Vadura stone is it changes color. It's the same stone, but different times it changes the color. This is mentioned in the scriptures. We have not experienced such a stone, but the scriptures guides us. So Krishna is like that. Sometimes he shows the different color, different form, Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, but he's the same personality, supreme personality of Godhead. So he never changes the body, and that is why Krishna never forgets. Krishna is Achyuta. And also another point Prabhupada is bringing here is Lord always comes along with all his associates. Right. So whenever Lord comes, he comes with associate. So Krishna, whenever he comes, Arjuna will also come. All other devotees will come. But the devotees, they might forget. Sometimes they may remember also. If Krishna, give them that remembrance, then they can remember. Otherwise, we forget, but Krishna never forgets. So all the devotees, they're the personal and intimate associate of the Lord. And whenever Lord comes, the devotees also comes. But the difference is that Krishna remembers everything and we forget. Right? So in fact, all these devotees in the Chaitanya Leela also, you know, all the different devotees came along with Krishna. And Narottam Das Thakur, he confirms this. He says, Gaurangera Sangi Gane, Nitya Siddha Kauri Mane. Gaurangera Sangi Gane, the associate, and the Sangi Gane, all the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are Nitya Siddha Kauri Mane. They are all Nitya Siddhas. They are all eternal liberated souls. So wherever Lord comes, these associates also comes along. And then, this one of the Acharya in one of the book, uh, he has mentioned about Kavi Karnapura. His name is Kavi Karnapura. He has mentioned in the book called Gaur Ganodesha Deepika. So where he has actually identified all the different devotees who came in the Krishna Leela, what they became in the Gaur Leela, in the Chaitanya Leela. So we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, Nityananda Prabhu is Balramji, Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu, and then Advaita Gadadhar is Radharani, Srivas is the Narad Muni, and like that, Krishna came with Arjuna. So Arjuna is like Ramananda Rai in Chaitanya Leela, and then the father of Radharani, Brajbanu. It begins Pundrik Vidyanidhi in Chaitanya Leela. So like that, so this is the point that Prabhupada mentioned, that Lord always comes along with all his associates and they always participate in the Leela. The difference is that we, as being the conditioned soul, even the liberated stage also, we don't have the ability to remember all our lives, wherein Krishna remembers all his lives. So that's the difference here. Uh, so if we can come out from this forgetfulness, and that can be done by the mercy of the spiritual master, by the guidance of the scriptures. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhaka Punay, Shamanadi Suddha Chitte, Karaya Uday. So this is the way that this bhakti, our relationship with Krishna, and that serving attitude, it is there, but we have to just, it is currently in the dormant state. So we have to reawaken that memory and establish ourselves in serving Krishna. Then we can be happy. Okay, so these are some thoughts on this verse. Let me see if anybody has any quick question or any comment. You can unmute yourself and ask the question, or maybe just put in the chat if anybody has any question. Okay, if there's no questions, then we'll stop here. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.